came to me in a dream, like a conscious impulse. I can see it right in front of me.
What is up, guys? Stu here. So at this point, 2018 is well and truly upon us. Stop invading my personal space. Okay, you can come on in. Which means it's time to wrap up the year we've just had. And oh, what a year it was. I mean, outside of film and cinema, oh fuck. But inside the realm of cinema, it was ruddy great. So now that we're already at the end of January 2018, how? It's time to look back at my 10 favourite films of 2017. And there are a couple of things I've got to get out of the way first when we're jumping into something like this. Mainly the fact that UK and the US have slightly differing release dates for films. Which means we're still getting a lot of those amazing films that you guys over the US got in 2017, you sneaky bastards. There are also a couple of films which I've not yet seen, which I am sure are going to be in this list. I just don't want to wait that long to see them because they take a while to come out over in the UK. I'm talking about Phantom Thread. So these are the top 10 films that I have seen from 2017. It's going to be a doozy. And also, I usually do honourable mentions, but this year, there were actually too many great films and the list was changing all the time. I didn't want to do an honourable mentions because, one, there are probably too many of them to the point where it just kind of negates the purpose of an honourable mentions section. And two, I kind of decided, you know what? Let's not do honourable mentions. If you're in the list or you're not in the fucking list, alright? Like, you don't turn up to a party at my house and then I'm like, you can't come into the party, you're not invited, and then you just say, can I just hang around outside and listen to the music and drink my own beer? No, you can't. Sorry, mate. So, no honourable mentions, but if you do want to see an entire ranking of everything I've seen in 2017, I think we're over 100 films now. In the description, there's a link to my Letterboxd account. Don't know if you guys use it, but it's basically a really cool little app website where you can track films you've watched, rate them. I've got reviews for everything in there, and I've also got an entire ranking of every film I saw in 2017 on there. Click on that link, it'll take you through. You can have a little gander through that. But now it's time to get into the StuTalks top 10 best films of 2017. Arguably, the highlight of the film calendar. Arguably. So, kicking things off in our number 10 spot is Brigsby Bear. And this film went weirdly under the radar, at least as far as I can see on Twitter and everything I'm seeing, because people are liking it, people are loving it if they've seen it, but not enough people are seeing it and loving it. And I did both. God, this film's wonderful. It's the sort of film which makes you laugh and then makes you cry and does everything and makes you feel warm and fuzzy inside. You guys know I love me films like that. This one was just a perfect one like that this year. And I am a sucker for any time a film can just put the making of a film inside its film. If you're showing a film being made in a film, pretty much going to be there, pretty much going to enjoy it. I don't know why. I can't answer that question yet, but I do know that I love it. Kyle Mooney in the lead is hilarious and wonderful. I love that guy. He's the sort of actor that pops up in cameos here and there, and he's usually the funniest part of the film that he pops up in. And he's the ruddy lead. But next in at number 9 is Guillermo del Toro's The Shape of Water, which isn't just about Sally Hawkins measuring large masses of water. But it is about Sally Hawkins measuring a waterman's large mass. Am I right? But no, Guillermo del Toro is a fantastic director. I've loved everything he's put out. And this is arguably his best since Pan's Labyrinth, which is a fucking fantastic film. He just has this fascinating way of telling a fairy tale, surreal story in this incredibly warm, relatable context. It's hard to explain, but it's the thing I love so much about this film. At the end of the day, it's a woman falling in love with a fish man, which is baffling. Crazy. If you came up to me and said, hey, I want to make this film about a woman falling in love with a fish man, I'd say, get out of my fish tank, Jerry. Okay? This has gone on for too long. Stop having sex with my goldfish. But no, it's a definitely peculiar premise, but it's executed so fantastically. Guillermo del Toro as a director is proven time and time again that he's a true cinephile. He's a very fond love of cinema, and it bleeds through every scene in this film. But Sally Hawkins' lead performance as well is just sublime, giving a silent role, which is always harder, but definitely no less impactful. God, she was good. God, this film was good. Shape of Water at number 9. Man, I loved it. But now we're on to number 8, which goes to Blade Runner 2049. And at this point, it's kind of unfair how good Villeneuve is at directing. But every time he seems to bring a film out, it ends up being in the top 10 that year because he's just so good. He's consistently amazing. And this is arguably his best for a long time. But I was saying that when I watched Arrival. And I was saying that when I watched Prisoners. Every film he does this to me. But my word, this is a rare sequel that not only enhances upon the original, which in this instance is a classic in its own right, but I actually think is arguably better than the original, or at least does some things better than the original. It's one of those kind of beautiful little slow burn sci-fi films which doesn't take your hand through things. So that's one of my favourite things about Villeneuve as a director, and one of my favourite things about Blade Runner 2049 is that it never assumes that the audience isn't clever enough to get what's going on, so it doesn't spoon feed you stuff, it just lets you discover and work stuff out for yourself. And it's so much more rewarding for that. My goodness, this film is so rewarding in that respect. It's the same thing that happened with Arrival, but there are revelations that don't feel like revelations. They just feel like you're learning stuff about these new characters in this world that we're in. And that is the best way to let us get absorbed into this crazy sci-fi world that doesn't exist in the real world. And it is also just a gorgeous looking film. It's lensed by Roger Deakins. You know my thoughts on Roger Deakins, but essentially, I think he could probably take a picture of like the smelliest, fudgiest shit ever, and I'd be like, that looks like a good old chocolate cake. Let me eat that up. Nom 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 nom. The colours, the environments of this film, gorgeous to look at. I feel sorry for anyone that didn't catch it in the cinema because you definitely missed out. And Ryan Gosling's in it. At this point, anything he's in, I'll probably sock on like a chopper chop. So coming in at number 7 in my list is You Were Never Really Here. So you could argue very strongly that this is a 2018 film. I'm sure we're going to see it in a lot of 2018 best of lists at the end of this year. But I saw it in 2017, and I know other people did, so fuck it, it's going in my list. And it's a welcome addition to the list, because it's ruddy fantastic. It's from Lynn Ramsey, who directed We Need to Talk About Kevin, another stellar film. But this one is equally as amazing. The best way to describe it is that it plays out like this kind of fever dream thriller, and if that sounds amazing to you, it's because it is amazing. Joaquin Phoenix in the lead is fantastic. We knew he'd be fantastic because he just nails everything he does. But he was really great to watch here as this very, very damaged individual. It's got crazy moments, it's got beautiful moments. It's a sort of direction which you just want to instantly dig in, tear apart, and find out what's going on at the centre of it. It's a studyable film. But the direction teamed up with the performances and Johnny Greenwood's stunning score for this one, it was a really memorable experience. It was incredibly tense, incredibly edgy your seat at the end of the day, and very brutal in places. It took me by surprise, and it was incredibly dark, and I loved it. So now we're on to number 6 in our list, which I'm happily awarding to Dunkirk, which is the latest film from Christopher Nolan, who, in much the same way as Denis Villeneuve, as I've just explained, is one of those directors who puts a film out and you're basically like, yeah, that's going to be in my top 10 at the end of the year, isn't it? And this was no different. Dunkirk is absolutely Chris Nolan at the top of his game at the moment. He doesn't show any signs of slowing down as a director. But I just love the way that he took a story that everyone knows and he told it in such a fresh way, which made it feel so exciting and so different to the way we've seen it told before. And it just worked. The whole thing came together beautifully. I love the simplicity of its kind of story, but it's definitely not a simple film. I mean, it's edited, it's put together, it's structured in a typically Chris Nolan mindfuck of a way. If you've got the Blu-ray or can get hold of the Blu-ray of this film, check out the special features. There's a couple of hours of him running through how he directed all of this, and I don't know how he did it still, and I've watched 2 hours of him explaining how he did it. That's a sign of good direction. I don't know how he pulled it off, but it was just wonderful to behold. I saw it in IMAX on 75mm, the best way to watch this film, and it legitimately blew my clothes off and everyone around me. It was just a naked party in there. It was wild. But it also made me utter the words, Harry Styles was good in that film, which is not something I ever thought I'd be saying, so it's definitely going to get props for that. And now we get to the halfway point of this list. Things are heating up now. Things are getting juicy. Just make sure you got a seat and you got some cold liquids to place upon your body, because it's going to get steamy. At number 5, we have Star Wars The Last Jedi. And I can already feel people gasping and getting their pitchforks ready. Bring it on, bitches, bring it on. Star Wars The Last Jedi was so good. And you know what? I understand criticisms with the film. There are moments in the film where I was like, people aren't going to like this. Okay. I do not understand, however, the die-hard Star Wars fans that are coming out saying, Star Wars The Last Jedi ruined Star Wars for me. I'm never watching a Star Wars film again. My whole childhood has been raped. Someone actually said that. Why is this the point in the Star Wars franchise where you went, you know what? This is a bit too much. You sat through 3 prequel films. 3! And this is the point where you stop. God, pull your head out your ass. I honestly think this is one of the better Star Wars films they've done ever. It gave me everything I wanted from a Star Wars film. I was excited, it had insane lightsaber battles, and the best thing about this film compared to other ones is I genuinely had no idea what was going to happen next, scene to scene. Honestly, I didn't know what was going to happen. And that is a testament to Rian Johnson's talent as a writer and director here. I loved that he had this mammoth job of creating the next installment of the Star Wars film, and he just genuinely, by all means, did what he wanted. That's impressive to me. That is impressive. It's entertaining, it's got incredible visuals, and it's got some of the most breathtaking moments I've seen in any Star Wars films. Any. Yeah, I love Star Wars The Last Jedi. I can't wait to watch it again. I'm unashamed in my love for it. Come at me. But now at number 4 is Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, which is another film on the list which seems to be garnering a lot of backlash from a lot of people now that are seeing it. I just personally don't agree with that side of things. There are terrible characters in this film, but it doesn't mean that we have to enjoy racism. It doesn't mean it's a racist film. And I actually think Martin McDonagh's screenplay here is the best screenplay of the year. It's one of those films which you're watching, but really you're listening, and it's just a joy to listen to all of the words that all of the characters are saying in this film. But on top of that, the characters in the film themselves, I thought were really fantastically realised. I've seen people say that it's all over the place tonally. I actually completely disagree with that. I think the tone is exactly where it wants to be, and I think it really nails it. I mean, ever since In Bruges, I completely have been on board with Martin McDonagh's very dark sense of comedy, and that's present here. It's a very funny film, but more so than his previous films, I think this is arguably his more kind of thought-provoking and heart-filled film. I think it's got a lot to say, this film, and I really enjoyed that aspect of it. And it's filled with incredible performances as well. Frances McDormand, as usual, knocks it out of the park. She was great in the lead role here. But Sam Rockwell's side performance here as well is equally as fantastic. His best work I've seen from him from a long time. And now we're coming to the final 3 on the list, and this is where things are getting really heated, because these 3 films are just a little step above the rest for me. I adored all 3 of these films. It's going to be tough not to just start rambling about all of them, but I'll try my best here. I'll try my best. So at number 3 is The Flora Project, which is just a magical film in pretty much every aspect of the word. And I'm genuinely shocked by the lack of awards recognition this film seems to be getting at the moment, particularly from the Oscars. I thought it would get a lot more. And you know what? Maybe it doesn't matter that it's not getting awards recognition, but people need to go and see this film because it is a fantastic, fantastic film. Sean Baker delivers a truly beautiful look at childhood poverty from the perspective of these children growing up in these motels on the side of Florida. And it just sort of does everything you want from a film. It's funny, it's witty, it's charming, it is also moving and incredibly powerful, and it has something to say. It's got a purpose, this film. It's really wonderful. It blew me away the first time I saw it, and then when it finished, I was like, I need to see it again. I ended up buying tickets for it again like 2 days afterwards to take my girlfriend to show it, and she loved it as well, so there you go. But the child performances in this film are some of the best I've seen for a long, long time, and everyone else in the cast as well. For a cast of people who have never done this before are fantastic. But there's also Willem Dafoe in there, who has absolutely done this before and is still as ruddy amazing as he's ever been. And I think it has one of the more divisive endings of the year. The very final shot of this film has left people like, oh, I hated that, or oh, I love that. I'm firmly on that camp. I really loved it, and I implore you guys to watch it if you haven't already, because it needs all the love it can get. The Flora Project is a wonderful, glorious film. But now we're on to number 2, which goes to Lady Bird. No surprises there, a coming-of-age film pretty much makes it to the top of the list. Unpredictable at this point, but shoot me. I love Lady Bird. This is a glorious film and does exactly everything I want from a coming-of-age film. As a directorial debut, Greta Gerwig has smashed it. She smashed it on the writing side as well. Everything about this film worked for me. Saoirse Ronan in the lead role as Lady Bird, exquisite. All the side characters as well, fantastically performed. In fact, my favourite performance in the film comes from Tracy Letts, who gives just the most wonderful father performance I've seen in a film this year. Although, I'm forgetting one thing, we'll get into that in a bit. But yeah, everyone's great in this film. It's really witty, it's really funny. It's a very quick-paced film, which I think could put some people off, but for me, it just meant that it rattled through, had no real downtime. But by the time I'm at the end of this film, I'm crying my eyes out. It's a really beautiful, moving film. It's relatable in so many different aspects. I mean, I'm clearly not a teenage girl, but there are so many things that the characters go through in this film, which I think everyone at some point has felt in their life. I think everyone's going to get something out of this film. It is exquisite. I am very, very happy that it was as good as it was, because it's one of those films that was getting a lot of hype, and I was like, oh, maybe it's going to be a bit too much, but it well and truly smashed that hype. But now we're at my number 1 spot, and I think you guys can probably guess what it is if you've been following my channel for any remote amount of time lately, or my Twitter for that matter. I've kind of been going a little bit nuts on this film. But number 1, my favourite film of 2017 is Call Me By Your Name. My word, this film, man, this film. When I first saw this film, I was blown away by it, and I just could not stop thinking about it, and I immediately went to this press conference for it afterwards and saw the director and the cast talk about it, and it only got better in my mind. And then I had to wait 2 months for it to actually come out in a cinema in the UK, and I went straight to see it again, and the second time I saw it, I was sure this film is something I'm going to remember for a long, long time. Because what Luca Guadagnino has made with this film is a film which is so effortlessly beautiful and sensual. I don't think it's ever going to get old. I think this is a timeless film, and I think it's going to stand the test of time. I reckon in like a decade's time we're going to be looking back and going, Call Me By Your Name was one of those films, man. One of those films that just sticks with you. Timothée Chalamet is exquisite in this film. He has to win all the awards for Best Actor. Not sure if he will with the people he's going up against, but for my record, he is the best performance of the year here, and his relationship with Armie Hammer is just gorgeous to watch. It's gorgeous. This film has some of my favourite moments in cinema this year, and for the decade. I mean, it's just exquisite. The moments with Sufjan Stevens' music in it as well work so beautifully together. And I just love how kind of stripped back and restrained it feels as a film. It is essentially just showing a relationship evolve and then what happens at the end of that relationship. It's not filled with any of these kind of typical conventions of bad guys coming in and throwing things off and then people having to hide behind each other's back. There's none of that in there. It's just a relationship and what that does to these two characters. And I mentioned, talking about Lady Bird just there, that the father character from Tracy Letts was one of the better of the year. But Michael Stuhlbarg's father character in this film is probably the best dad character I've ever seen. My God, what anyone would do to have a dad like this in their life. And his final monologue at the end of this film is just stunning. Just stunning. It's making me kind of feel a little bit emotional just talking about it. Honestly, Call Me By Your Name has blown me away in pretty much every respect. I cannot wait to watch it again. I think it comes out on Blu-ray in March over here, and you better believe I'm buying it first day and just watching it over and over. I honestly think it might be one of my favourite films of the decade, and one of my favourite films of all time at this point. It gets better on every viewing. It's got something different for me every time I sit down and watch it. It's just gorgeous. It is a gorgeous film. If you haven't seen Call Me By Your Name yet, go and see it as soon as you can. I'm aware at this point it's very, very hyped. Don't let that influence how you're going to feel. It could go either way. Just go and enjoy the film for what it is. I'm sure you're going to love it. I loved it, and it is easily my number one of the year. But that's it. That's a wrap. We've gone through all 10 of my favourite films of 2017. That was fun. That was good. As I said at the beginning, in the description below, there are links to any of the main reviews of these films that I've been talking about here if you want to see some more in-depth thoughts from me on those. There's also a link to my letterbox down below where you can check out my full ranking of every film I saw in 2017, because that's a fun thing to do. But most importantly, I want you guys to let me know what you thought of 2017 as a year in film. What are your top 10 favourite films of the year? Because I feel like this year had some incredible films in there, but there's also some very divisive ones, so I'm interested to see how everyone's lists are differing. So let me know what you guys thought in the comments below. We'll have a big old discussion about what I think was a pretty fantastic year for film. And now we're on to 2018. Let's see what 2018's got for us. I hope it has anything anywhere near as good as Call Me By Your Name, because then it's going to be good. Take it easy, guys. Be nice in the comments. I will see you soon. But until next time, stay beautiful, motherfuckers.